Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Vedant Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Paripranti Acharya Shri Prasad Shri Srimad Suvati Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Ramacharya Shri Haridas प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवास आदि गौर श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोविंद श्याम राधा ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन की जय नवद्वीप श्री मायापुर धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री गिरनाथ धाम की जय रमाई की जय नंददेवी तुलसी महारानी की जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री लक्ष्मण चैंटिंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय most merciful Lord Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ji ki jai most merciful Lord Shri Shri Prabhupada ki jai most merciful Lord Shri Shri Nagvaldev Subramanian ki jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Jai Gaur Premanande all glories to the Son of the devotees, all glories to the Son of the devotees, all glories to the Son of the devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 6, entitled Brahma Satisfies Lord Shiva, text number 39. Tam Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam Vipashritam Krisham Yoga Praksham Vipashritam Girisam Yoga Praksham Salokapala Manayom Manonam Salokapala Manayom Manonam Adyam Manutranjalaya Pranemoho Adyam Manutranjalaya Pranemoho Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam Vipashritam Girisham Yoga Praksham Lokapala Manayom Manunam Adyam Manutranjalaya Pranemoho Brahma Nirvana Samadhi Mashritam Vipashritam Girisham Yoga Praksham Salokapala Manayom Manunam Adyam Manutranjalaya Pranemoho Samadhi Mashritam Vipashritam Girisham Yoga Praksham Himadris, from him, Lord Shiva, Brahma Nirvana, in Brahmananda, Samadhi, in trance, Ashritam, absorbed, Vipashritam, leaning on, Girisham, Lord Shiva, Yoga Kaksham, having his left knee firmly fixed with a knotted cloth. Salokapala, along with the demigods, headed by Indra, Munayaha, the sages, Manuna, all thinkers, Adyam, the chief, Manu, thinker, Pranjalayaha, with folded arms, Pranayamaho, offered respectful obeisances. Jai Shri Shri Gaunithai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subramana, Jai. Translation purported by His Divine Grace Sri Vedant Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: all the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be foremost of all sages. Please repeat. All the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages. In this verse, the word Brahmananda is significant. The Brahmananda or Brahma Nirvana is explained by Prahlad Maharaj. When one is completely absorbed in the Adhokshila, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the sense perception of materialistic persons, one is situated in Brahmananda. It's impossible to conceive of the existence, name, form, quality and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because He is transcendently situated beyond the conception of materialistic persons. Because materialists cannot imagine or conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they may think that God is dead, but factually He is always existing in His Satchidananda Vigraha, His eternal form. Constant meditation, concentrated on the form of the Lord, is called Samadhi, ecstasy or trance. Samadhi means particularly concentrated attention. So one who has concentrated attention, so one who has achieved the qualification of always meditating on the personality of Godhead is to be understood to be always in trance and enjoying Brahma Nirvana or Brahmananda. Lord Shiva exhibited those symptoms and therefore it is stated he was absorbed in Brahmananda. Another significant word is yoga. Kaksham. Yoga Kaksha is the sitting posture in which the left thigh is fixed under one's tightly knotted saffron-colored garment. Also, the word Manunam Adyam are significant here because they mean a philosopher or one who is thoughtful and can think very nicely. Such a man is called Manu. Lord Shiva is described in this verse as the chief of all thinkers. Lord Shiva, of course, does not engage in useless mental speculation, but as stated in the previous verse, he is always thoughtful regarding how to deliver the demons from their fallen condition of life. It is said that during the advent of Lord Caitanya, Sadashiva appeared as Advaita Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu's chief concern was to elevate the fallen conditioned souls to the platform of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Since people were engaged in useless occupation, which would continue their material existence, Lord Shiva in the form of Lord Advaita appealed to the Supreme Lord to appear as Lord Chaitanya to deliver these illusioned souls. Actually, Lord Chaitanya appeared on the request of Lord Advaita. Similarly, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, the Rudra sampradaya. He is always thinking about the deliverance of the fallen souls as exhibited by Lord Advaita Prabhu. Om Ajnam Vinam Dasyam Jnanam Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Namano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vansha Kalpatarobhyasya Kripa Sindhu Ghanevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vacha Bhagam Langai Tekri Yatrupada Mahamande Shri Gurum Dinatana. How Lord Shiva is sitting under the tree is described here. What kind of absorption that he was in is also described by Srila Prabhupada and the purport. The quality of a person is known by what kind of happiness that he seeks. There are different people who seek different kinds of happiness. There are people who seek happiness in material activities. There are people who seek happiness in heavenly pleasures. There are people who seek happiness in merging into the Brahman. And there are people who seek happiness in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are different standards of happiness. And of all these different, in all these happiness, there is a rasa. Happiness means, ultimately, happiness is experienced through a rasa. The rasa can come by possessing an object or in a relationship. No matter what it is, different rasas are exchanged. And that different rasa exchange is called actually happiness. So, we learn from Bhagavad Gita that materialistic persons seek happiness of senses. Sense pleasure is their happiness. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga Dukhayone evate adyanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. Intelligent persons will not seek for such happiness, but lower intelligent persons or less intelligent persons seek happiness which is born out of sense perception, especially the touch. Sparshaja bhoga. Happiness that is born out of sparsha. And actually, according to Bhagavad Gita, that is dukkha. According to Prahlad Maharaj also, it is dukkha. Kandurvayera iva dukkha dukkha. If you scratch on the itching wound, it is going to give us more and more unhappiness only or dukkha only. Temporarily it may give us some kind of happiness, but ultimately it will lead to dukkha. So that is the conclusion of the saintly personalities. So intelligent person should not seek such happiness. Ramante yogina anante satyanande chidatmani. Yogis, they don't seek this kind of happiness. What kind of happiness? Sparshaja bhoga, they don't seek such happiness. Rather they seek happiness ananta, anante. Ramante yogina anante satyanande. The true happiness, or actual happiness that exists in service to the Supreme Lord is what they seek. So, in the Nectar of Devotion, these different grades of happiness are described. It is said, for a materialistic person, the sense perception or happiness that is derived by sense gratification is so much. But even if one has that kind of happiness of an ocean compared to an ocean, that happiness is considered as a small droplet in comparison with the happiness one derives by negation of that happiness and seeks happiness from Brahman. So, Brahmananda happiness is a different kind of happiness. But even if you want to make the comparison is this. The oceanic material happiness is compared to a droplet in comparison with the happiness of Brahmananda. Now, it is said, the Brahmananda happiness is just a small droplet in comparison with the happiness that one derives by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What was earlier considered as the greatest, now has become a simple droplet in comparison. And now it is said that ocean of happiness, which is derived by serving the Supreme Lord, is an ever-increasing ocean. Then what can you say about it? Anandam buddhi vardhanam, and that is experienced pratipadam, purna amrita swadam. So, this is the highest standard of happiness that devotees get by chanting Hare Krishna and by serving Krishna. Anandam Purivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamruta Swadanam Sarvatma Snabanam Param Jayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So, as I was saying, that what kind of a quality person you are depends on what kind of happiness that you seek. Some people derive happiness by cracking very dirty jokes. We all know that in our childhood or in our youth, in our college days, so much nonsense is being spoken. Nowadays, it's much more nonsense is going on between people. Dirty, very bad jokes they play on each other, and then they think that that's actually happiness. One is friendly with the other by cracking such jokes. Similarly, the kind of discussions people have these days is all about movies or sports or about the current affairs or about the problem of this person or that person. All this is what they derive happiness. By Graminada they derive happiness. Runam Santi Sahasra Saha. They are completely far removed from reality. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Hrideshva Dhamya. hardly you get people to discuss higher topics, substantial topics of reality. You don't get to speak to people. People think that is, it is non-realistic, it is non-practical to discuss those topics. But great personalities discuss these topics related to Krishna. Why materialistic people will not discuss? For them, those topics are beyond their imagination or conception. That is what Srila Prabhupada said. The existence of the Lord, His name, His form, His qualities, His attributes is beyond the conception of materialistic persons. So that is why they don't see it as factual reality. On the other hand, the temporary manifestation is what they see as factual reality. So they discuss a lot about it. The devotees of the Lord or the transcendentalists, they understand this is temporary. What is actually existing is the spiritual subject matter, spiritual world, spiritual affairs is what is actually existing. So they have a lot of happiness and pleasure in discussing about those things. So that happiness is considered as Brahmananda. So that kind of happiness is what Lord Shiva is experiencing. Not very low kind of happiness. In fact, there is one devotee, I forgot his name, he said this, for a devotee, Trivida, Trividapur Akasha Pushpayate Kaivalyam Narakayate, he says. That the heavenly pleasures, Prabodhananda Saraswati, is Prabodhananda Saraswati. Prabodhananda Saraswati says, Trividapur Akasha Pushpayate, the heavenly pleasures is like phantasmagoria, Akasha Pushpayate. It doesn't exist, it exists in your imagination, which is sought by so many pious materialists in this world. And that he says is Akasha Pushpayate, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Whereas the Brahmananda, so-called Brahmananda, which is spoken by the Mayavadis, is Kaivalya. Kaivalya means Kaivalyam Narakayate. It is equivalent to hellish condition. Why? Because in Kaivalya, there is no service to Krishna. Kaivalyam Narakayate. So for a devotee, if you put a devotee in a Brahman state of existence, he experiences the Brahman state of existence to be like Naraka. So Sayujya Mukti is not sought by a devotee. A devotee doesn't even seek higher muktis. Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya, Sashti, also he doesn't look for. We are talking about Uttama Bhakta. Then what to speak of Sayujya Mukti? Sayujya Mukti means being absorbed in Brahman realization or merging into Brahman existence, which is technically called as Brahmananda by the Mayavadis. Whereas the Vaishnavas don't call that as Ananda only, it is called Naraka. So for Vaishnavas, Brahmananda means service to Krishna is called Brahmananda for Vaishnavas. So there is difference between what they refer and what Vaishnavas refer, what Mayavadis refer, what Vaishnavas refer, although they may use the same word. Brahmananda is the word used by both. But for Mayavadis, Brahmananda means merging, and for Vaishnavas, Brahmananda means service to Krishna. And if you ask them about merging, they call it as Narakaya. You can see that difference. So much of difference is there in the understanding between the Mayavadis and the Vaishnavas. So here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the same thing, that Lord Shiva is absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is in transcendental meditation of the form, name, form, qualities and attributes, and he is actually situated in Samadhi. So many times people think, what is Samadhi? In Yoga Siddhi, Samadhi is talked about. There are the 8 steps for the ultimate yogic perfection. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and finally Samadhi. So samadhi means complete concentration on something sublime. That is called samadhi. Complete concentration. And to achieve that concentration, one has to go through many steps. So in the 6th chapter, Krishna discusses about these two stages of existence, Yoga Aruruksha and Yoga Rudha stage. Yoga Aruruksha stage means the preliminary stage of yogic perfection. They are still hobbling, they are still trying to make their minds stable. Pratyahara is also very difficult for such a person. So they are in the process of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, like that. Whereas Yoga Rudha stage means higher existence, that is dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is a natural process to achieve samadhi because you are constantly thinking of Krishna's interest. That is why it is called being situated in samadhi state. If someone is always thinking about Krishna's interest, like Srila Prabhupada, if you take his life, he is always thinking about what is Krishna's interest. In the New York City when he arrived, he was going from one place to other place by walk. He didn't have so much of money. So he was walking. While he was walking, he was looking at various buildings. And in those buildings, he was seeing, oh, this can be a nice temple room, or this can be a kitchen, or this can be, hall for devotees to sit and, discuss Krishna Katha. So for him, all these different buildings are only seen as temples. This is called concentrated samadhi. So you can only imagine at what stage of Krishna consciousness that he must be in to think like that. He is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Whereas a materialistic person is exactly opposite. He thinks anything, yad yad vibhudimat sattvam srimad va tat eva vagachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Krishna says anything wonderful and brilliant, you understand it to be mine. Because of my presence in that or because of my empowerment, it is like that. So when we see something, the immediate idea that we get is, it would be nice if it is with me. I want to capture it, like Satrajit. Satrajit, when he saw the Shamantaka jewel, he was gifted the Shamantaka jewel. Even though Krishna asked him to keep it with him, he did not. He just kept it with himself, which finally caused his death. But he did not understand. So anything which is brilliant should actually be offered to Krishna because truthfully it actually belongs to Krishna. Anything wonderful and brilliant. So we are also absorbed, we are also in samadhi, opposite samadhi. Samadhi of sense gratification is what we are actually situated. The samadhi means what? You fully concentrate on how to enjoy it. That is called samadhi of the materialistic person. Whereas the samadhi of a spiritualist is exactly opposite. How this can be used for Krishna's service. So that is the difference. And this is called truly samadhi. This is not called samadhi by the way. Sense gratification, thinking is not called samadhi. Technically you may call it a samadhi, but actually that's not called samadhi. Samadhi means thinking about Krishna's satisfaction, Krishna's happiness, engaging everything in Krishna's service. That is technically called samadhi. So it is said Lord Shiva was situated like that. He was sitting in that posture and he is absorbed. He is grave. Another word that is being used is Manu or Mauna or Muni. All are derived from the same Mauna. Mauna, from Mauna comes Manu, Muni, all this. So, he is not unnecessarily talking or anything like that. He has a purpose, deep purpose, and the kind of personalities that he is discussing with are Narada and other great personalities who are with him. When you have a very exalted person, you can't just talk nonsense. That is why it is advised that one should spend time with exalted personalities, either from hearing from them or speaking to them. Both are actually good for us. If you are hearing from them, you get transcendental knowledge. If you are speaking to them, you will be corrected of your materialistic absorption. We always want some buddies who always are yes men to us. We want to speak to only yes men to us, which is not of much use. Because for anything, they will say, yes, yes, you are right, you are right. So everybody runs around with few yes men. And they think that, just by having few yes men with you, you think you are very spiritually advanced. Your spiritual advancement is that who is paying audience to your speech. That indicates your spiritual advancement. When Lord Shiva speaks, who sits? Narada sits, Brahmaji sits. These great personalities when Lord Shiva is speaking. When we speak, who is sitting? Think about it. That tells about what kind of speech we are speaking, what kind of thought process that we have. So Lord Shiva is very great. He's seated. It is said in the previous verse also how his left leg was touched to the right thigh, and all that description is there. Yogic posture description is there. So he is very peacefully sitting, and his legs are covered by the saffron cloth that he wore. He is looking like a great Muni with the moon is also there on his head. He is appearing like a cloud, fresh cloud, just like we glorify Krishna. Varhavatam Shamasitam Buddha Sundaram Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Pujami. The color is very beautiful color. Color of a fresh rain cloud is called very beautiful. Similarly, because of the ashes that are smeared on the body of Lord Shiva, he is appearing like a fresh rain cloud. Very beautifully situated, gravely situated, sitting. Adoring scene for all the demigods, headed by Lord Indra, accompanied by Lord Brahma. It is said Lord Brahma, as soon as he saw Lord Shiva, he was very happy to see Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva when he saw Brahmaji, he got up immediately from his seat and he touched his lotus feet by paying offering obeisances. He is the father of Lord Shiva. But Lord Brahma knows, even though he is holding the position of a father, but Lord Shiva is a very great personality. There is some fear is there in Lord Brahma. Can I approach this person? Actually, when somebody is very grave, you cannot just blush their door and talk to them anything or anything. You are a little fearful. You are unless there is a purpose, you will not go and approach them. So this is how Lord Shiva is situated, and Lord Brahma went there along with the demigods, wanting to actually pacify Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva recently went through a very difficult phase. That is, he lost his wife in Daksha Yajna. He lost his wife. So he was a little fearful also. Lord Brahma, he is the father, and he is also a little fearful to approach Lord Shiva. So it is said in the next coming verses, you will find Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma was, just to cover his fear, he was smiling while approaching Lord Shiva. Just like it is said, although it is not a direct comparison, Prabhupada writes, Duryodhana went to Dronacharya just to cover his fear. He went and he started speaking, Bhavan, Bhishmascha, Karnascha, Drupadascha, all these things he started saying. But actually what was inside his fear was there. Fear was there. Just to cover that fear, diplomatic meaning, he took a diplomatic meaning to cover that fear actually. So similarly, when you actually see great personalities, very unpleasant, and you don't know how to approach them, so there is some sense of fear is there. So here Lord Brahmaji, along with all the other demigods, they approached Lord Shiva like this. And Srila Prabhupada very beautifully described what is the possible thinking of Lord Shiva. when he is so brave and in a meditative posture, what he must be thinking? He would definitely not think about lower kind of sense gratification. He is always thinking how to deliver the most fallen souls. And then Prabhupada is bringing the topic of Advaita Charya. Advaita Charya, actually because of Advaita Charya's cries, Lord Chaitanya appeared, it is said. Advaita Charya was so intensely worshipping the Saligram Shala with Ganga Jala and with Tulasi leaves that when he was calling the Lord, the cries were going all the way up the Vaikuntha, crossing the three regions and then entering into the Vaikuntha. And Lord Krishna, he was, in one sense, he was like disturbed by these cries, and then he immediately wanted to come to this material world as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is said that if you see Chaitanya Bhagavata, it is described how Advaita Acharya was so concerned with the people, especially people of Navadvip Dham, because actually Navadvip was a center of learning those days. Very intelligent, the most intelligent people of the universe were there in Navadvip Dham. But they were lost in two things. One is argumentation, another is some kind of demigod worship. These are the two activities that they were indulging in, and then they stopped glorifying the Supreme Personality of God. So Advaita Acharya was not at all happy. He thought himself is incapable of delivering these people. Although he is Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu's combined form, he thought he is incapable. So he wanted Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna to come himself personally to deliver these fallen souls. So he was also engaged in various kinds of austerities and penances. He was fasting for the deliverance of these people. We don't even fast for ourselves, our spiritual advancement. He was fasting for people who are his Puravasis, co-citizens. He is fasting for co-citizens who are not blood related or anything. So these descriptions are there in Chaitanya Bhagavata. He was absorbed in thinking of the welfare, and because of his strong desire, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and delivered the fallen souls. So how important it is to be situated under the care and concern of a pure devotee like either Advaita Acharya or Lord Nityananda. Their only concern is to deliver the most fallen. Like Narottam Das Thakur says, Mosama Pita Prabhu Na Paive You are the incarnation for delivering the fallen. And if you want to count, I am the first. I am the first fallen. Mosama Patita Prabhu Na Paive So your Krupa Katak Savikshana should be on me, my dear Lord, first, because I am the most fallen. What a beautiful appeal to the Lord. So, that is what the scripture says. Somehow or the other, if you are accepted by a pure devotee, not chosen by, not you choose a pure devotee, rather you are accepted by a pure devotee, even though you may be very fallen, your good fortune is with you. If you are accepted by a pure devotee. You got Krishna just by being accepted by a pure devotee. Similarly, Lord Shiva kind of personalities, their thinking is how to deliver demons. To deliver demigods and to deliver other personalities, their punya is there, their pious works are there, their meritorious works are there, and then other demigods are there. But who is thinking of these fallen souls? The Bhutas and Pretas and all these people, who will think of them? Lord Shiva is there. He thinks of them. Sometimes even in devotee community also, you will find some devotees, they are specially liked by some people who are very dubious in character. But if you actually observe that devotee, he is very strict, nice devotee. But the people whom he hang around with are these kinds of people. Then we must understand this devotee must be very compassionate. That is why all these people are actually with him. You can't judge the devotee by saying, see, you find a person or you talk about a person, you understand a person by the kind of association he has. So you can't say because dubious people are actually around him, he is also dubious in character. No, not at all. Not at all. Lord Shiva is like that. Of course, many times such devotees are actually misunderstood. Personalities like Lord Shiva are misunderstood because he is always in company of ghosts and hobgoblins and all this kind of personality. But he is with them, not taking their association, but by giving his association to deliver them to a higher state of existence. So, it's very nice to see the beautiful nature of Lord Shiva and how Srila Prabhupada compared Lord Shiva meditation with Advaita Acharya's meditation. So these are some points. Anyone has any question? Any comment?
Here, the qualities of Lord Shiva are compassionate, we call empathy.
So, one of the aspects of Lord Shiva, like regarding Daksha. Daksha, he was one of the authority for us, for administration. So, Lord Shiva, he should have shown compassion upon him. Lord Shiva should have shown compassion upon Daksha than handling punishment or killing. So, how do we understand that this aspect of Lord Shiva's compassion?
We have a certain understanding of what is compassion. Compassion means our movement is suffering because of compassion. I dare to say this. Because no matter whatever number of mistakes you do, you still keep that person in that. And we have convenient quotes. Prabhupada said, don't remove reform, but not remove. Prabhupada said. That is fine. Don't remove, but he said reform. Prabhupada never said keep, but not reform. So most of the time what we do, we keep the person in that position and he does further harm. Because he is not reformed. So, Daksha is like that. Daksha has this very dirty mentality. He is not fit to be in that position anymore. He has to be actually killed. Only when he is killed, he can be stopped from doing such great offenses. So, there is always a debate on this point. Compassion means, we think compassion means whatever that person does, spare him. That's what we think compassion is. That is a Brahminical compassion. Brahmanas are very tolerant. And it is said Kshatriyas should not be tolerant. Kshatriyas should actually punish people strongly, so that people should not even think of committing such a crime or mistake. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, when he saw that this cow and bull are in such a suffering condition, what is the first thing he did? He immediately removed his sword. No discussion on it. immediately removed his sword, about to punish that fellow, Kali persona. You see that the Kshatriya Lakshana, Kshatriya, how he responds to certain situations, and how a Brahmana responds to certain situations. So, here Lord Shiva took that measure. He felt that as a person, he is very compassionate, but as an administrator, he took that step of killing Daksha, because it is dangerous to keep such people. So similarly, there must be strict punishments for people, strict disciplinary actions. And in our movement also, anybody can do anything, and they don't have a fear of being disciplined. So everybody is doing whatever they want. There is no fear of being removed, there is no fear of being, disciplined like that. Because now we have expanded so much that we are not able to actually manage. And in the name of Lord Chaitanya's movement. So yes, as a movement, as a compassionate movement, we are growing. But as I said, as an institution which is supposed to administer discipline, we may not be so good. So you see both aspects in our society as well. As a compassionate movement, we are good. We are extending to so many people, volunteers. But when it comes to managing that, we are not so good. So both are required. Only Brahmanas cannot manage, only Kshatriyas cannot manage. You need both of them. Both Brahmanas and Kshatriyas together can actually make anything work straight. So Lord Shiva punished is very apt. It is, in fact, it is discussed in the previous purpose. Lord Shiva did a great favor to Daksha by killing him. And the comparison is given when a murderer is hanged to death, the greatest privilege is given to the murderer so that he doesn't have to suffer the reaction of his ghastly action in the next life. So in the same way, such a punishment was offered to Daksha so that the mentality is as it were. So depending on who we are, what is our service, we will have to respond. Prabhupada commented that Ashoka, before meeting Buddhist monks, and after meeting Buddhist monks, it is different. Before meeting Buddhist monks, he was in a very fighting spirit, and he was conquering different regions. But after meeting Buddhist monks, he became non-violent. And Prabhupada criticizes that. Because he became non-violent, what happened? The Muslims came and attacked India. Because he became non-violent. He was not supposed to be there. India has become vulnerable for the Muslims. So Babur and all came after Ashoka. No? Right? If you see the history, Babur came after Ashoka. Because they didn't have fear. They didn't know that there's some powerful people who are ready to chastise and stop entry. There were no such people. So everything has its place. Violence has its place. Punishment has its place. Compassion is not necessarily only sparing persons. Punishing persons is also higher compassion. But it has to be administered without malice. It has to be administered by very pure people. Then it becomes actually mercy. Right? Because Alright, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada, Ida, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya,